was really nice.
All right.
You'll like her. She's great.
I'm just
Five.
through like leadership and
You'll like her. She's great.
meetings and stuff like that.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey guys, welcome back to the No Bull Broker. I'm your host, Jonathan Lickstein. On the No Bull Broker, we go behind closed doors with producers and professionals in the real estate industry because we are more than just someone who sells you a house. We are human beings too. We have feelings, we have interests, we have hobbies. And today, the person I have with me is a professional and a producer, Miss Stacy Plean from South Palm Beach County. Welcome, Stacy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for joining us today. I have to say thank you for joining us. I also have to say thank you very much for this very special and beautiful looking bottle of tequila in front of us that we are both partaking in. Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome.
It's good.
So it was recommended. How did you hear about this tequila? Let's start with that story.
So when we did the Transylvania night, that you were so good in your performance, President Carlos Melendez was there, and we started talking about tequila, and he said that this one was top. So I knew that this was something I had to get for you.
This was a selection.
And
I thank
so
you.
it did.
So it be. So it's here,
So
and we're
it's here.
partaking. But let's jump right in. While we're nice and warmed up, talk to me about your business. What is Stacy Plean focusing on? Where do you spend your time? And what are you proud of? What is your business?
You know, for a long time, once I got started back in the business, because I've had my license since '04, and I got started back in the business again in 14, 15. And I really wanted to take it to that luxury end of real estate, but I was having a really hard time breaking into it. So I started working with first-time home buyers and 55 plus, and I've got to tell you, the gratitude for a lot of those first-time home buyers when they're walking into their house with their keys for the first time, it's more gratifying than I think selling a $3 million home to somebody who's like, $3 million. Not that I wouldn't love to be in that, but
that's like a rewarding experience, and you get to relive that time and time again.
Time and time again, and the friends that we've made, and it's become almost like a circle of friends that we have that we've put all together just from meeting people from real estate.
You hear all these stories from various realtors who say clients become friends, right? Customers become friends, clients become friends, and it sounds like you're living that story.
So true, so true. One of our best friends right now is somebody that we met at a new construction for D.R. Horton, and just clicked. The wife, the husband clicked with Doug and I, and really Doug and him are best friends right now. So it's really kind of cool, and the friends that we've made and just go out with, socialize with, play pickleball with, the whole thing. It's awesome.
We'll get into the pickleball piece in a minute, but when you're talking about this, customers just had the similar interests. You guys clicked, and now they're practically best friends, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
So you think about that, and there's always a conversation of the separation between your personal life and your business life. And I feel like in real estate, that's not the case.
It's not. I think that friends are always interested in the way you work, or at least me. I'll speak for myself. I am 24/7. I say to everybody, if I'm awake, I'm gonna answer your phone call. There is no real downtime for me. Why? Because that's my service that I like to give to my buyers and my sellers. Some people don't agree with that, but that's me. So when somebody calls me at 9:30 and they go, I'm so sorry to call you, I'm like, no, it's no problem. It's great. It's part of my life.
But at the same time, your personal comes into your business as well.
Absolutely, but it comes in a very rewarding manner because I've made friends. I've learned from even other agents that we've become friends with. Agents that I do multiple deals with over time, we've become friends, and they're at different brokerages, and there's no competition. Everybody's just so happy for each other.
You're friends with people in rival gangs?
In rival gangs.
That's how it feels. Brokerages, different companies are rival gangs. If you leave one company and go to another, like, can we talk to you anymore?
You know, it's funny because there's somebody that used to be here, and I'm still very good friends with them, and
I know you're talking about, me too, me
and
too.
I talk to him all the time. I show his houses, and I'm like, come back, come back, and
He will eventually, I promise you. After hearing this, you know who you are.
you know who you are.
Anyways, getting back. So you started the business in 2004 and you left, you took a hiatus, you went to do something else?
I did. I left because we had that whole meltdown of the market, and I was relatively new at the time in the market. And although I started at a great time and thought that there was a money tree growing in my backyard, I didn't realize that that money tree could die.
Pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly. So I went back to doing what I was doing before, which was my first life, which was the garment center.
Okay.
So I started working as a consultant for other manufacturers and placing their work into different factories throughout Guatemala, Honduras, Santo Domingo, and of course here in Florida. And the person that I was with at the time said to me, you know, you're placing all of this work elsewhere, why don't you open up your own factory and make the money yourself? And I was like, no, no, I'm not doing that, I don't want the headache, this is very easy. Oh, I acquiesced.
I could have sworn that you would have jumped at that. That's something that falls very much into what I know of Stacy Plean.
Yeah, well, I did. I fell into it.
Okay.
So, bought a factory in Dominican Republic, and loved it. Started out with, when we bought the factory, it was 35 people working, and about 600 machines. It was a 50,000 square foot factory. And when I sold it, I left it with, well, at the peak, I had 450 people working for me. And when I left it, there was about 325. I was working with some major accounts, and that was what was so nice about it. I was able to sell those accounts with the business. So it wasn't just selling the machinery and the
It's the
building.
book of business.
It was the book of business,
Yeah.
which is so similar to real estate.
There's a lot of correlations between what you were doing there. You have to run maximum efficiency, multiple things happening in different angles at different times. You're interacting with consumers, you're matching them with their desired stipulated items, right? And facilitating steps along the way after they've, you know, quote unquote, placed their order and gone through, they've gone under contract, and you're taking them through the steps to get to the closing, which is the delivery of garments.
It's 100%, it's quality control throughout the entire process. And that's exactly like with buying a house, you know, it's taking them from their first step to getting pre-approved for the mortgage and establishing a relationship, which is so important. The ability to establish a relationship with a buyer or a seller is, to me, step one. You know,
Yeah.
the pre-approval and getting the house listed in the photos and stuff like that, that's all secondary. But you establish that relationship, I find that they're yours for life.
Yeah.
And I've had people that have bought and sold and come back, and they're like, we would never go to anybody else.
So coming from fabrication and supply of garments and textiles and things along those lines, right? Crossing over into real estate, there's a lot of agents that come into the business or are fearful to enter into the business because they have no experience in either sales or real estate or something along those lines, kind of running their own business. There's a lot of fear in getting into the industry. What is something that you wish you knew or did earlier crossing over industries to come back?
You know, when I first got into it, the market was so hot that I didn't have to do anything to market myself. Coming back into it, what I had learned from being in the business, in my business in the garment center, was marketing, marketing, marketing. So I decided that I was gonna take my dollars and I was going to put them to use, because my belief is that you get in what you put out. You get back what you
I'm
got
following.
it.
I'm following.
So I did. I put money into marketing. I put money into listing presentations. I put money into lead generation, and it worked. And having the ability to change a personality, knowing your customer, because there are some customers that are tough, and you can't let that get to you. And it's the same thing when I had the factory. I had some tough customers. They were by the book. It was all about the numbers. And you have to adapt. You have to be able to ebb and weave.
Would you find that's something that an agent can learn or evolve to be able to handle the objection or the difficult customers, or are you kind of born with the ability to deal with tough people?
I think that if somebody has a good personality to begin with, they might not have been a salesperson, but you don't have to be that quote unquote salesperson. You have to be yourself. You have to have that personality. You have to be able to talk to people and adjust to what their needs are, because you gotta remember, it's not your needs. It's not the house you're buying for yourself. Who cares if you like gray and blue? They might like white and black.
Did you say gray and blue on purpose?
No, but I do like your gator colors here.
The orange, oh, Gator, we're in the Denver conference room. These are Broncos colors.
Okay, to me they're gator, but okay.
We'll go with that. We'll agree to disagree there. But okay, coming back into the business, you're right. It's not a sales position. It's not a sales industry. And I just had lunch with someone who said, yeah, you can't be a real estate agent without being a marketer. Until you can actually speak with someone, you have nothing to apply that experience and knowledge to. So coming in with that marketing mentality and spending and accumulating some type of a budget that you can put forth into your business is what you're reaping the benefits of still today.
Absolutely. I think that's a mistake that a lot of new incoming agents that I've come across at least make, is that they think, okay, I'm gonna go get my license, I'm gonna go join a brokerage, and then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's amazing. It's great. Happened in like 10 days, right?
It's crazy, because what they don't realize is that all of a sudden they've got to join the board, and that's X amount of dollars, and then they've got expenses to get a business card and whatever else they need, and they start racking up this money, and before you know it, they've got all of this money spent. And
You're
I'm like,
net negative really, really tough,
really fast, but
very
you've
early.
gotta go into it knowing it. And as long as you know it, and you put your mind that you're going to accomplish what you've set out to accomplish, I think that that's huge, huge. If you go into it with a negative attitude, oh my God, I just spent all of this money, I'm not getting anything, you're not. Positivity
That's
is
true.
key.
Yeah. And setting yourself up, you're running a business, you're starting a business when you get in the industry. You have to account for, what am I going to be spending? What do I expect to come in, and how long can I survive without money coming in? When you first got your license, well, I'll ask you this twice. In 2004, when you first got your license, how long before you closed your first transaction?
It was quick. It was quick. Again, we were in a crazy market at the time. I started with another brokerage, and at the time we had floor duty. So as soon as I was
Back in the day,
back
floor
in the-
duty. People walked in and actually asked about real estate.
and calls, we used to have showing instructions, that when we sat floor duty, we gave showing instructions. So it was a completely different market, but again, it was, if you got that one person on the phone, nurture it, and that's what I was able to do. So it wasn't very long, and the market was prime at the time. So I think my first deal was like an $88,000 condo, and I could, but my split was 50-50, and I was like jumping up and down for joy. It was an accomplishment. And then as you start going and you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger transactions, and then I had $1.2 million transaction. I was like, this is good.
Would you say real estate was like a bottle of Pringles for you? Once you popped, the fun didn't stop?
The fun didn't stop until it did, until that money tree stopped growing, when the whole
The money
market-
tree died and you went
the
back
money
into
tree
gardens.
died.
So going back 2014 now, second time, round 2 in real estate. How long was it before you closed your first deal again?
It was pretty fast. Again, there were certain people that always knew that I was in real estate, and at the time I was with Doug, and Doug had his real estate license as well. And even though we were both working other jobs, both of us had the ability to maneuver and have some free time, so it was kind of easy for us to also have some money coming in while also doing real estate. And it was, somebody said, oh, you're a real estate agent, I'm looking to buy an apartment. And that's kind of how it started. And the one thing that somebody once said to me, you can't be a secret agent. You are a realtor. You are a real estate agent. Don't be a secret agent. Everywhere you go, tell people you're an agent, you're a realtor. Wear your your location badge.
Your badge, your realtor shirt.
Something.
This girl sells real estate. Not this
Something.
girl, that girl.
Standing in the deli department at Publix, and somebody said, "Oh, you're a realtor? I'm looking to sell my house." It's silly things like that. They don't know anybody most of the time, or somebody that they want to work with. So again, that personality comes into play,
And sometimes you get them when they're not even thinking about it.
exactly.
Oh, we were talking about buying a house and they hadn't even looked for someone yet, but you being open and initiating that conversation gave you the opportunity to have that convo and build that relationship. I always say real estate transactions come from, I've heard recently, the 5 Ds, which divorce, death, degree, I've listed some of the others, but the 5 Ds, but I think it comes from life events, right? And that's what the 5 Ds really are intended to describe. And going backwards, life events cause a transaction to occur, but it's the relationship that is derived from a conversation, that is derived from the initiation of some type of connection. So there's a pathway to get to that point. And by being that person in the grocery store, in the bank, at a restaurant, being open to talk to anybody gives you that opportunity to have a conversation and build a relationship and have the opportunity for a transaction.
100%. 100%. It's everybody says your sphere. It's great. That sphere is great. But most of the time, most of the people in the sphere are not looking to move or buy or sell. So you never know where you're going to be and who you're going to meet and who you're going to come in contact with that might be looking to downsize or might be looking for their kids to move from New York. They're moving down to Florida as well.
It's still the sphere though. And what you're trying to do throughout your business, they say your first deal will come from your sphere of influence, but guess what? All of your deals come from your sphere of influence. Every single one of them. But you're just using different methods to grow that sphere into a larger ball, a larger sphere, right? You can have a circle like this, because a very small one that you've lived here for 3 months. I don't really know anybody, but everyone you meet and start to converse with increases the size of that sphere. And you're just bringing more people into your book.
100. Yep.
I correlate that a lot to education, right? If you're operating by yourself and you're just doing what you are going to see and what you're going to encounter in your life, you will only know what you're going to encounter. That's not a zero, it's a small ball, right? As you expand out, you learn different things, you read different books, you have different conversations. That knowledge base is just growing larger. And it's the same thing in real estate with your sphere and the relationships you make.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And the relationships are ongoing. And that's the idea. Keep those relationships ongoing because you never know who that person is going to know. And it becomes almost, I look at it like an octopus. The tentacles just keep going out. They just keep going out. I might have gotten one lead from a lead resource and that's resulted in 4 or 5 transactions because that one recommended me to this person and that person recommended me to another person. And that was just start out with one lead.
It's just a chain. One leads to another, leads to another.
Absolutely.
You never know which deal, which person or which prospect is going to be the one that refers you to the next customer.
Yeah, but it is a great feeling when you get those referrals. When somebody says, oh, Linda and Elliot bought a house from you. We heard you were great. We'd like to.
Have you ever gotten a referral from someone that you're like, oh, I hope he's not like that?
Yes. Yes. But again, not everybody is the same, and that's part of changing that personality and being able to move and maneuver to meet the needs of who you're dealing with.
Have you ever gotten a referral from someone that you had previously said, I'll never get a referral from that guy?
I can't off the top of my head.
I'm sure there's not many of those.
I don't know that there's many people that I would say I've had a horrible experience with that I've actually said, if I never spoke to them again, it would be okay. There's really not. I mean, my experience has been really pretty positive. Yeah, you have your tough deals and you have the transactions that don't always go as smooth as the smoothest transaction, but they all work out in the end. And you always want to keep, again, my whole thing is keep that door open. Make sure that everybody knows that you are there to help them and do whatever you can. So I might not personally like them and I might not want to be their friends, but they're my customers and that's what puts the money in my pocket.
You gotta take care of them. So you're not from South Florida.
No, Long Island girl.
Okay, we knew that.
Could you tell?
I think it's the upbringing from New York that allows you to deal with some of these tough customers, because you're used to it.
I'm used to it, but remember, I would say a whole bunch of the customers that we're dealing with are from New York. I mean, the greatest conversation we have when we get a lead gen call is, oh, you have the 516 area code. You're from Long Island? Where? And that's an immediate
Connection.
Yeah. And that's it. I went out with somebody the other day that was from Massapequa. I was from Merrick. They were like, oh my God, we have some South Shore. We're from the
That
South
meant like
Shore.
Alaska and Hawaii to me. I have no idea what you're talking
Well,
about.
it's 2 towns away from each other.
Okay.
It's considered the South Shore of
Okay.
Long Island. And there's always that rival between the South Shore and the North Shore. And South Shore people get along with South Shore people and North Shore people. So it was an immediate connection, and you know what? We went out, we saw 4 or 5 properties, we're going out again on Saturday. It was a connection. It was somebody that I'm pretty confident that they'll end up buying something from me.
Well, fantastic. So when you relocated from Long Island down to Florida, you didn't have a sphere of influence down here. How did you create your sphere? How did you start yourself?
I moved down here with my husband and my daughter, who was 4 years old at the time. She's 32 now.
You just ratted her out there.
It's okay. It's okay. She looks great for 32. And
28 years ago.
28 years ago.
Welcome,
Yeah.
welcome.
Right? And I was scared. You know, I grew up in Merrick. I got married, bought a house in Merrick. That was what I knew. That was my box that I was in. And here I was moving to Florida, which to me was retirement village, and I was not moving with I was against it. And as soon as my daughter went into school, that's how I met people from school. PTA, class mom, getting involved, you know, with her friends, meeting her friends' parents, and that became my friends. And that became my sphere, and to this day it still is.
I feel like a lot of agents find their angle and how they create their sphere. They create their relationships just like that. I mean, I relocated down to South Florida I was 13 years old. And I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, but I was 13 years old, and it was through activities like that, through school, and then going past that into my adult life, being a participant with baseball with my kids. I meet a lot of people through there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting how you can lead generate and create relationships through time and sweat, so to speak, instead of just having to throw dollars at it, while at the same time, the dollars go a long way. So let's move on from that, building relationships, bringing in leads. We're gonna continue with leads. What is something that you absolutely could not live without for your business? And don't tell me your cell phone. I'm taking that one off the table.
You know, Doug got into pickleball. We're gonna kind of revert back to that. And he became obsessed with it. And Doug and I always used to play tennis. So we would meet people playing tennis. You know, we would go and play on leagues and play mixed doubles or whatever. And through pickleball, people started asking, what do you do? You know, because it started as a retirement game kind of, and it's not anymore. It's really become really kind of popular. So
I own 4 sets of pickleball equipment. I haven't played once, but I own 4 sets.
Well, Doug became so obsessed that he became a pickleball instructor. He's certified. He really is.
That's awesome.
And so that's how he's meeting a lot of people, because he's putting himself out there, just like we've marketed for real estate. He's marketing for pickleball. So
Okay.
it's kind of like a dual thing, because he does the pickleball instruction and he starts to talk to people and, oh, I'm in real estate, and it's a whole thing. What else could I couldn't live without?
So pickleball was the first one, or was it Doug?
No, it was really Doug.
Okay.
I'll give him that. To me, when I started, it was really the lead gen. I think now, you know, plugging KV Core, it's just become something that I personally couldn't live without. I can't keep up with all of the text messages and all of the emails and all of the property sends and constantly staying in contact.
What it has done is eliminated your need for somebody to work for you. or to bring on other agents to have to handle the administrative side of your business, and allows you to keep running as Stacy and Doug.
100%. That KV Core, and I remember showing it to you when it was not KV Core. Conversion, and I was like, look, I didn't even send this text message and they're responding to me, when can we get together? And to this day, it's still the same thing, because there are people that go on the back burner, they're not quite ready, they haven't found the house, they're not ready to make the move yet, and KV Core is just keeping in touch with them. They know, KV Core knows when they've looked at it 3 times, they've looked at the same house, they're pushing out an email. I can't live without that.
I like how it modifies search parameters. So buyers are liars, right? They'll tell you one thing that they want, and they really, in reality, are looking for something different. So KV Core kind of follows them around their site, and based on what they actually look at and what is common about what they actually look at, it will tweak what you're sending them without you having to change it.
That's the best part of it. The AI is the best. And what's funny is that these people will think that I'm sitting at my computer day in, day out, at night, all hours of the day and night, and I'm sending them these emails and I'm tweaking these searches. And it's like, do you have time? Sure.
And you're getting a response to this text message that you didn't actually send, you just got them.
Right.
Got them.
Right. It's great. That's one, I could probably live without my phone, but not without KV Core.
So in 2004, when you first got into the real estate industry, you first got your license, everybody has a story about how they got to where they are, or how they even went down the pathway, how they selected this road. What got you, who, what, when, where, how did you decide I'm getting a real estate license in Florida?
So I think it's a funny story. We used to go to the beach, friends of mine, we used to take the kids to the beach on Sunday. That was what we did. So we lived in Coral Springs, we'd go down to Pompano Beach, that's where we went. And coming home, we would go through the back streets to avoid the main arteries. And there was always open houses. And I'd be like, let's just stop at the open house, let's just go look. We weren't looking for houses, I just liked looking at people's houses. And
That could be beautiful or scary.
That was kind of how I got into it. I was like, you know what? I really like looking at people's houses. I like what I'm seeing these agents doing when I was going into the open houses. I could do that. It's
I
kind of
want to
cool.
be part of that world.
I want to be part of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even go to like a Gold Coast or anything like that. I went to Broward College to get my hours in.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't know where to go. So I saw it advertised, like in the Sunday Insert was a class for real estate.
Sunday inserted what?
In the Sun Sentinel years ago.
In a newspaper?
Yeah.
They had newspapers? No.
They had. No, I'm aging myself.
So
And I did it at Broward College. It was once a week for 16 weeks. I think it was 16 weeks or twice a week, whatever it was. And then right after the class test was when the state had the problem with the testing sites. They were renegotiating their contracts.
Okay.
And if you wanted to take your test, you had to go down to Miami, a big auditorium, or you had to go to Tampa into another, and I was like,
I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So I waited like another 6 or 7 months, and again, it was 16 weeks of taking a real estate course. Not recommended, because there's so much to know that it was hard. So then I went to Gold Coast and I did like a refresh course.
The cram course.
The cram
Right,
course.
Cram course, yeah.
And went and I took my real estate license, the test, and passed, and
Now be honest with me. Did you pass it the first time?
I did.
High five.
But I also passed my broker's on the first time, and
Double high five.
that was scary. to
Double,
me.
double. 2 times. There we go.
That was scary to me.
So not a lot of people pass their test the first time. In fact, I think it's over 50% don't pass their first time.
That's a big number.
I think it's much bigger. I actually have it somewhere. I'm gonna find it, but I think it was like 70% don't pass the first time.
So I think that part of it is you have to really be interested in what you're studying and what you're learning. And there's a lot of it. I mean, I've got to tell you, meets and bounds, for me, I've never used it. But I found it interesting. So it was part of that soaking up and wanting to learn and that wanting that knowledge. Same thing when I took brokers. I don't do anything with commercial real estate, and I don't do anything with those formulas,
But you still had to learn
but I
it.
still had to learn it, and
Can
being
you-
interested in it
Can you
was
explain
key.
meets and bounds to us right now? I'm kidding. I'm
No,
totally kidding.
don't do that.
I'm totally kidding. Just like in regular schooling and education, they teach you a lot, and you may or may not apply it. But the real estate course is the exact same. Some of it you use, some of it you don't. But it's also imperative that you have that data or information that you can go back and access.
100%. And then major to me, and you know that this is a pet peeve of mine, is classes to understand how to be a realtor, how to write a contract, understanding the contract, how to be able to explain to the customer you're writing that contract for. What does this mean? Because there's a lot of agents, I've gotten contracts from agents that have nothing filled out. All it says is their customer's name and the price. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
I mean, it doesn't teach you, the real estate course getting into it doesn't teach you anything about the real application, the actual pragmatic information that you need to operate your business. They teach you how not to get in trouble in the beginning.
It's exactly what they teach you. But that's why and I've sat in on a lot of the classes in the years, I'm able to say years now that I've been with location. And I've learned stuff, and I think I'm a pretty seasoned agent, but there's still something to learn every class that you take.
I appreciate that mentality so much. There are agents who have been in this industry much longer than you and I, who refuse to learn anything new. I've been in this business for 30 years, I know what I'm doing. That's not the way things are done. But things change and they evolve, you have to continuously learn.
Have to continuously, and it's only bettering yourself. And if you continue to better yourself, you're going to be better for the customer that you are helping.
So let's give somebody a fast track here. I just got my license. Thank you. Congratulations. Welcome to the industry.
How many times did you have to take the test?
Once.
Congratulations.
I'm a one-timer all the way through. For one-time sales associate, one-time broker, one-time instructor. I'm a one-timer. I'm a good test taker. Anyways, so let's fast track somebody. They just got their real estate license. What are the 3 things that they should learn now getting their license rather than making mistakes and learning later on?
Contracts. You will get in so much trouble if you don't get those contracts right. If you do something wrong, you can hurt your buyer. You can hurt your seller. And then it comes back on you, which eventually comes back on the broker. And you just don't want to get in that kind of trouble. Understand the contracts. Understand what you're having your buyer or your seller sign.
All right, contracts, 1. I need 2 more from you. You're not going contracts 3
Okay.
times.
I call it the anatomy of a buyer or a seller.
Okay.
Understanding what they want. It's very easy to talk to a buyer, for example, and they'll go, "Oh, I'm looking for a house, 400 up to 400. I want a pool. I don't want to be on the lake because I'm afraid of the alligators." And then you don't take the time to listen to what they're saying, and you're sending them properties that are 500, that are on a lake, that have no pool. And again, learn how to listen to your customers. Learn to know what their needs are. Yeah, if somebody says to me that they're looking up to 450 in the right market, I might look up to 475 because there is some play.
I always went up 10%.
Yeah.
Always.
But listen to your customers, because a lot of times I'm getting customers that have been with other agents, and their biggest complaint to me is they just didn't listen. They just didn't listen. We told them that we wanted to be in this area, and they were showing us this area. And know your area. Major. Or if you can, fake it.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. I mean, I'm based in Boynton, and I've sold in Port St. Lucie. And I will figure that stuff out real fast. And there have been times that I've had to go down to Miami, and to me, Miami is like New York City. It's very confusing.
Fake it till you make it
Fake
is
it.
like the best advice I could give to a new agent, by far.
By far.
I started in the industry at 19. Nobody in a market, in an area and a market that was completely cash. No financing, bank financing didn't exist. There was seller financing and there was cash. That was it. And who's gonna trust a 19-year-old kid with $500,000, $750,000, over $1 million.
Obviously they did, right?
They did, it worked out, it was great. Nobody ever knew how old I was. That's one of the tricks. How old are you? How old do you think I am? Oh, you're really good. You're really good. That's super close.
That's awesome.
And
That's
never
awesome.
actually tell them the number. But either way, let's go back. Contract, know your area, and know how to talk to people. Know how to listen.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, there was one class that I took with you, I don't remember which one it was. And you were talking about, oh, you're in the car and you're taking people out for listings, talk to them about the listings. And they don't like it, crumple up that piece of paper and throw it in the backseat and go, okay, that's not for you. I use that and people love it.
They love it.
They love it. It's so dramatic and it's like, wow. She's like, she doesn't care about telling me how, she cares what I like.
Yeah, you're making it entertaining and engaging and fun. You're
awesome.
joining in the camaraderie with them of the journey of finding a home. It was awesome.
I remember that because I use it and I thought that was great.
The strategy is after you see the first home, if that could work for your buyer, great, we've got one. But the next home that you come out of, was that one above or below the last one? And if it's below, literally sitting there saying, crumple up that piece of paper, throw it in the bag, and they're like, you just threw trash in what just happened, right? It's impactful.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very impactful. It was great.
I love that one. So,
And again, that's part of, I think I'm a pretty seasoned agent, but I'm always learning. And I love that. I mean, that to me is like, I want to continue to learn.
I think the successful people in this industry are able to not just follow somebody else and what they've done, which we'll talk about in 1 second, but not just follow somebody, but take a snippet or one piece they hear from someone else and spin it for their own personality and their own way of speaking to then apply to their business. And those people that can do that are the ones who find success long-term in this industry.
It's very true. It's so true. It's being able to take, like you say, that little snippet and make it work for you. Your snippet might not work. The way you do it might not work, but the premise of crumpling up that piece of paper works.
It's simple, but it's great.
It's great.
It's there's tricks like that all over the industry. Would you say that your day, every day in real estate is predictable?
No, it is so unpredictable. It is, I think I have the day free. I'm planning to go to the beach because I haven't taken a day off and we're gonna go hang out at the beach because that's my happy place. And all of a sudden the phone rings. And guess what?
Day changes.
Game changer. I am going out, I am taking off my bathing suit, I'm putting on my clothes, and we're going out looking at houses.
So that's what the day is leading up to. So with the unpredictability that there is in the real estate industry, and every showing you go into, every negotiation that you may go into, every contract and transaction you go into, what is a story that sticks out to you that could be funny, could be scary, could be just awkward? Give me a story of a showing. I love hearing these. I like get chills when I think about it. It was when I first started. It wasn't recently. 04 or 14?
Probably 04.
Okay. It gives me time of what people could be wearing in that time.
I was in Coral Springs, so
Okay.
my area was Coral Springs, Pompano, Tamarack, Margate, and I had somebody that wanted to see homes in Pompano. And I didn't really know Pompano very well, but again,
Pompano
fake
at
it
04, can imagine.
till you make it, you know? And I went into a house and when I opened up the lockbox, there were like 6 different keys. And each key it must have been like a football team. And then every door in the house had a football. So you knew which door went to which key. Well, they told me that it was vacant and that there was nobody living there. And so I'm opening up the doors and then I'm being respectful. I'm a relatively new agent at the time. I'm opening the doors and I'm locking the doors because that's how I found it. And I opened up one door and guess what I found?
It was the bears, and there was an actual bear.
It was 2 people who were in bed. They were.
Do you remember which
They
football
were
team was on the
going
door?
at it. I don't. I just ran. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was mortified. That was probably the most mortifying moment I have ever had.
Well, let me ask you this question. I know there's one person in that house Were there two people in that house that closed the deal that day?
Yes. There were two.
So you ended up selling that house?
I didn't sell that house, but I
Okay.
sold the customers a house. I mean, to this day, I still speak to those people, and we still laugh about,
You
opening
have
up
to.
the door and finding somebody's butt going up.
That's a picture you certainly can't take out of your head.
No, it's hard.
So going along, you've now been in the business, 04, carry the 1, 18 years, okay? 18 years into the business, you're an entire adult person in your real estate career. Okay, you had a break for a little bit of a hiatus, but you've learned a lot and you've evolved a lot. What is something that you know now that you wish you knew back in 04?
That I should have never gotten out of it. I should have stayed with it, which is, even in this market, it's a little kind of funky right now, the market.
Uh-oh, you just mentioned a word of conversation, so I'm gonna ask you in a second.
Stay with it. Don't be afraid. Stay with it. It's going to come back. It always does. But I went running for the hills back then because, like I said, I had that money tree, and that money tree died, and I didn't know that if I just watered it a little bit, it would have come back to life. So that was one thing that I wish listen, I don't regret what I did in Dominican Republic. I think I learned a lot from having that kind of business, but I wish I had stayed in it because there's nothing that I love more than real estate. And I will do this until they put me 6 feet in the ground.
So talking about the market, that's everybody's question right now. The number one question you get when you talk to somebody on the phone, so how's the market? What is your elevator pitch? What's your 30-second, how do you respond to that right now?
The market is leveling off, and I think it is leveling off. I think that COVID sent the market into a frenzy, and I think that now it's leveling off. I don't think we're ever going to get to that 5, 6, 7, 8 market where things were going into foreclosure and it was short sales and everything else. I think that the market is leveling off, but I also think that Florida is very unique.
True.
I think that people want to be in Florida. I think that people like the fact that they could be outside year round. They can go for walks. They're not bundled up. They don't, and the remote aspect of it, I think this is where people are coming. So I'm not afraid of the market at all, and I tell my buyers and my sellers not to be afraid of it.
Now just, you mentioned that you could just walk around, go for a walk at any time of year. Give you context here, we're at the beginning of November. People in different states are just miserable right now with temperatures. And we were talking about how hot and uncomfortable we were sitting indoors, because it's just so darn hot here.
So true. It's so true. But there was somebody that I met, the other day that moved from Michigan. They drove down and they said that when they left it was 37 degrees. When they got here it was 91.
I hope they left their coat.
Yeah.
But coming back through the market, do you find that you have the need to pivot your business or your marketing messaging or your efforts, how you market yourself when the market shifts like this?
The one thing that I let my customers know, I'm here for the long term. This is not a short game with us. If it takes you a month to find a house, or if it takes you a year. And I've had customers that have stuck it out with me for 2-3 years, but they found a house and we did it together. And I think that's when they're most appreciative. I'm not dropping them. I'm not forgetting about them. Those phone calls are going out to them. The text messages are going out to them from KV Core. But listen, it's just a different market now, and just roll with it, because it's the same thing with personalities. You've got to roll with the personalities, you've got to roll with the market, but don't be afraid of it.
Sometimes the market goes up, sometimes the market goes down. You need to stay even for your customers and just ride it out for the long haul, because it will all work out.
I 100% agree with you. And people are talking about mortgage rates right now, and that's pretty much
I find that to be something that people are using as an excuse not to buy. There's just ways around that.
there are so many ways around it, and I have a deal going now with a 3-2-1 buy down. And you know what? It's affording these buyers that house, and within the first 12 months to 18 months, maybe even less, you know, nobody has a crystal ball, they'll refi. And they won't have to worry about coming up to the 7.75 or whatever it is that they're at. And they're getting into a house, they love the house, so somebody's said to me, marry the house, not the rate.
Marry the house, date the rate. I've been
Date
hearing
the
that a
rate,
lot
yeah.
lately. That's one that's been pretty common.
Yeah, and I like it, I think it says a lot.
So what is beautiful about what I'm seeing from you is your even aspect, the even way that you look at it, the very realistic approach that you have to the real estate industry itself, the market, your own business, your income as it could fluctuate up and down. It seems that not only have you found success, but you have found a sustainable way to keep that going for yourself long term, whether it's Doug playing pickleball, teaching pickleball, keeping him around, KV Core working for you. And you need to leverage the tools that you have and are available to you in order for you to be efficient. And that's noble. Thanks for being here.
I love it, thank you.
Thanks, Stacy.
If you're good.
How long?